So I want to thank AFAR, as well as the organizers of the American Aging Association for the opportunity to introduce you to our Nathan Schoch Center at USC in the Buck. I'm Sean Curran. I'm the Associate Dean of Research at the Leonard Davis School of Gerontology, and I serve as one of the co-directors for the USC-Buck Nathan Schoch Center of Excellence. So the USC-Buck Nathan Schoch Center is a joint venture between the faculty at USC, as well as the Buck Institute for Research on Aging. USC and the Buck actually have more than 25 years of shared experiences that began in the late 1980s. And that's when the idea of the Buck Institute was formed. And actually several of our faculty at USC were instrumental in its initial founding. Since then, I think the research outcomes at both institutions have benefited from extensive collaboration between our faculty and our service corps, and that the extent of that collaboration has grown to include the first of its kind Biology of Aging PhD program, and now the Nathan Schoch Center of Excellence serves as a bridge between the two of the largest geroscience research ecosystems in the nation, in the Los Angeles Basin, as well as in the San Francisco Bay Area. So like all Nathan Schoch Centers, we're committed to enhancing geroscience research across the US. Our goals are to provide resources to emerging geroscience scholars, and that comes in the form of enabling access to technology, providing advice and training, and helping to form collaborations with experts that are within the field. We provide these opportunities through three primary mechanisms: vouchers, pilots, and something we call mini sabbaticals. Vouchers are the most straightforward mechanism to gain access to research services. So if you need or have need for a discrete research project that requires assistance in, say, running a sample, doing RNA-seq or a seahorse measure, or quantifying a hormone level across a collection of samples by ELISA or mass spec, or analyzing large data sets. You can be given a voucher in order to have all of that work done free of charge at one of our cores. Pilot projects are more extensive undertakings, have a larger scope of work. They might utilize multiple core services, might require a lot of consultation on study design, or need more time at the bench in order to execute the study. And as such, those come with a larger budget and larger support. I think one of the most exciting aspects of our Nathan Schoch Center is the opportunity to actually come to USC or the Buck and learn how to do these experiments on your own, hands-on, with experts in each of these technologies. I think this is actually a great opportunity to also expand your research models. You can come and work hands-on, one-on-one with experts in a variety of model systems that range from yeast to flies to worms to killifish, mice, cultured cells, and even human subjects. Applicants can receive assistance to work at USC or at the Buck, and that can be as short as a week, or it can be longer if the research project requires a larger commitment. So I won't bore you with the organizational details of our center, but rather only tell you about the parts that are important to you. The USC-Buck Nathan Schoch Center is really a synergistic collaboration between all of the experts at the Buck and at USC. And we provide resources that are unique to each of these campuses. So our website is the best source of official information. It's where you can submit requests for support. That website is uscbucknsc.org. All applications are submitted at that portal, and then they're reviewed by the Research Development Corps, and that's led by Julie Anderson at the Buck and Kelvin Davies at USC. Before you apply, though, you should consult with the core leaders of our resource corps. They can give you advice both on the cost of the services that you need, the availability of the technologies and the staff to do that study, and also help you to sort of hone what your scope of work is going to be. So in the last half of this talk, I just want to tell you about a little bit about our resource cores and what you can do with them. The three resource cores for our center are the Genomic Translation Across Species core, the Cellular, Senescence, and Beyond core, and the Geroscience Technology core. So the genomic translation across species core is led by Eileen Crimmins and M. Arpawong at USC. The goal of this core is to advance translational research. And they do that through collaboration that you can make with them at any point in this cycle of research. I think that one of the biggest challenges for researchers who use a model system that want to do translational studies is figuring out how to do that and how to take the actual first step. So the genomic translation across species core can assist you in identifying the human orthologs of your gene of interest that you use in your model system. And then they take that human ortholog and then look for human genetic loci that influence the rate of aging and age-related phenotypes in a really large human cohort that's been tracked during the normal aging process. So based on preliminary data that you have and your gene of interest, project PIs can identify human gene variants and then correlate phenotypes that are associated in the longitudinal tracking for a variety of phenotypes in human populations. And these human phenotypes include biomarkers in blood, flow cytometry markers, disease conditions, metabolic indicators, cognitive and behavioral phenotypes, and then general mortality and longevity data in that longitudinal study. Successful projects have used preliminary data that started from yeast in worms and flies and murine models as well. The next core is the Cellular, Senescence, and Beyond core, and this is led by Judy Campisi and Birgit Schilling at the Buck Institute. So this core provides consultation, standardized methods, and experimental services in order to characterize selected cell fate decisions in a variety of research models. So because of the inherent heterogeneity in senescence, there are many proteins, RNAs, and lipids that serve as biomarkers that can correlate with cell fate. And as such, the primary route of support for the Cellular, Senescence, and Beyond core is using state-of-the-art mass spec and proteomics in order to identify proteins, quantify their abundance, and develop targeted assays for those biomolecules. The core has expertise in using a variety of samples. In many cases, a PI or an applicant can learn how to collect samples in their own lab so that they are able to be shipped and processed correctly at the Buck Institute, and then they receive the data afterwards. But this is also a good opportunity for those mini sabbaticals where you could travel to learn these technologies on your own. And then finally, the Geroscience Technology Core is led by Simon Melov at the Buck and Walter Longo at USC. This is the most popular and at least the most common service provider for our Nathan Schock Center. You can really think of it as everything geroscience at USC and the Buck core, because really it provides collaborations and project support for any technology or expertise that you can find at either site. So users of this core have access to a variety of technology platforms. They all have really easy acronyms that you can remember. So the Mitochondria Metabolism Technology Platform, or MMTP, will allow an investigator to do really sophisticated measures of mitochondrial function and metabolic flux. My favorite platform is MORT, or the Model Organism Healthspan Resilience Technology Platform. Here you can use a variety of model organisms to test your geroscience hypothesis, look for evolutionary conservation in a pathway, do small molecule screening, or just learn how to use this model system in your research program. And then there's multiple next-gen technology platforms for RNA-seq, proteomics, and quantitative geroscience. But really, you have access to all of the technology available at both institutions. And again, you can find all of that on our website and get more details. But I think the real advantage, as I was saying earlier, is forming these meaningful partnerships and collaborations, which can have a longer impact. And I really think that being able to work with these geroscience leaders is going to lead to innovative geroscience research directions within your research programs. So we just finished the inaugural year of our center. We have several outstanding projects underway, and I really hope that we can assist you in your geroscience research in the future. So take a look at our website, USC-Buck.nsc.org. Feel free to reach out to us anytime if you have questions, and thank you for listening.